of September 7th through to the 13th of 2025 brings a rise of emotional tides, and we're called to be more like water. And so if you are someone who is wondering what is coming up astrologically this week of September 7th, then watch today's video where I'm going to give you your complete guide to this week ahead and how you can navigate this with ease. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabel, your spiritual rebel friend, and today we are talking about the astrology of the week of September 7th through to the 13th. In today's video specifically, I'm going to cover what may be coming up for you this week astrologically in more of an emotional, physical, mental setting according to the stars, the astrological transits happening the week of September 7th through the 13th of 2025, things you may want to do or act on this week, and the spiritual lesson being presented this week. So if you're looking for a balance of a more contemplative, open-ended guide to the stars, combined with some practical do's and don'ts on what to do, think about, maybe take into account, then watch today's video where I'm going to hopefully give you guys a bit of both talking about the spiritual lessons that are being presented this week and also some things to keep in mind practically as advice for the week ahead. And of course, if you want to go deeper into what exactly to anticipate in this week, this month, this year ahead, based off of your unique birth chart, then I invite you to book a reading down in the description box below, where in 1 hour we can dive deep into your soul's unique energetic imprint and how it's being affected right now, especially as we are in one of the most intense weeks of the entire year. So learn more about readings down in the description box below and drop a comment down below if you have any questions. Actually, this is the last note I want to make before we get into the weekly forecast. If you like this video but wish it was in written form, be sure to join my email newsletter where I send weekly forecasts for the stars in written form in the same format that I'm doing today, but with more practical guidance and more detailed outlines. If you wish you were able to take screenshots and set reminders, so to say, of what is going on astrologically this week, then my weekly newsletter is the way to do so. It all gets sent straight to your inbox every week, and you also get a monthly forecast as well with your sign's horoscope. So join the weekly newsletter by hitting the link in the description box below. So first off, let's talk about what may be coming up for you this week. I want you to treat this like a checklist and ask yourself, how many of these things are you experiencing? Emotional breakdowns and breakthroughs, new deep connections coming into your life, a feeling of emotional release, unexpected feelings of sadness or grief, an innate sense of emotional security, opening your heart more to someone through a conversation or a vulnerable expression, and realizations around what really makes you happy. Do you feel like overall your emotional waters have been temperamental so far this week? Have you felt it over the weekend? This is something that could be continuing as we enter the week of the 7th through the 13th of September of 2025 because we have such dominant water energies present. This is for our benefit, but it can feel like coming into this week that maybe recently life has been extra emotional and you can't quite get a grip on your emotions. I'm part of that group. If you have any water sign placements that are dominant, if you have a sun or moon in a water sign, you're really going to be feeling this energy extra strong, but you don't have to have water energy in your chart to be feeling this energy extra strong. Simply put, these are some of the things that we may be feeling this week. Emotional breakthroughs, emotional breakdowns, emotional revelation, and emotional release. Now, why do I say all these things? That's because of the transits that we have present this week, astrologically. One of which is on the day of the publishing of this video, we have the lunar eclipse peaking in the sign of Pisces. Now, I already published a long video talking about the lunar eclipse in Pisces, and I do recommend that if you're feeling a lot of the themes that I've already touched on, I recommend that you watch that video, and I'll make sure to put it in the card up above or in the playlist down below under Astrology Forecast. You can find my video on the lunar eclipse there. But simply put, we start off the week with having the fading energy and the peaking energy of the lunar eclipse in Pisces. It peaks on the 7th of September of 2025 at 15 degrees of Pisces, and we can feel this energy wane for the next 3 days that follow. So this is really the first half of the week that we can strongly feel this energy of the lunar eclipse, which brings revelations, breakthroughs, realizations, as well as breakdowns and releases for the sake of clarity and fulfillment in regards to our spirituality, in regards to our emotional harmony, in regards to our sense of unconditional love. Some area of your life has been really in the forefront, maybe in mental realizations in this regard, as of 3 days ago, roughly, as we entered the shadow period for the lunar eclipse based on your sign. But now that this energy is still present, and given that this is in Pisces, we can still feel this sense of things are finally coming to light. So the lunar eclipse in Pisces also forms quite a few different positive aspects, and I'm not going to touch on what they are in particular because that's for my lunar eclipse video, but what can be coming up for us in the first half of this week is a feeling of emotional reward, harmony, and fulfillment. We could be receiving some sort of mental revelation that sets us free to be in energetic alignment, to get into our own vortex, so to say, to align and attune to what feels like the most harmonious, high conscious version of our energy that we want to embrace. We may also have some more emotional support coming through as we have quite a bit of Cancer energy present with this lunar eclipse. Point being, the first half of the week can really be a time where it feels like major pivotal changes are coming in, major turning points, major realizations, major connections for the sake of emotional fulfillment, for the sake of emotional harmony, for the sake of energetic balance in our spirit. Not only do we have a watery lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Pisces, but we also have present this entire week a Grand Water Trine. Now, this is partly an additional interpretation on something that is present with the lunar eclipse, but also is an aspect present detached from the lunar eclipse. That is because Jupiter in Cancer forms a trine to the North Node in Pisces. And the North Node in Pisces is conjunct the lunar eclipse. So this is an energy that is extra accentuated in the first 3 days or 4 days of the week, accentuated on the 7th of September, but also present and fading in this entire week ahead. Arguably, this Grand Water Trine is present majorly for the entire month of September, but the end of last week and the beginning of this week are something where we can feel this, or a time where we can feel this heavily. With this Grand Water Trine present, our emotional needs and our emotional body is being harmonized in a lucky way to receive more emotional fulfillment. Hence why I said you may be also meeting new connections this week, because water energy oftentimes has a lot to do with our connections, especially for those who have, let's see, that would be if basically point being if any water signs are your 7th or your 5th house. So for Capricorn risings, Taurus risings, or Sun or risings, for Virgo Sun or risings, my earth signs may be having a lot more happen in their relationship. As well as water signs themselves, if you're a Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces Sun or rising. Point being, for us all, water energy can bring in connections, and we're harmonizing our different layers of our emotional body. What I love about this Grand Water Trine, and that I talked about in another video, which you can see as well, where I go deeper into this Grand Water Trine, is that there are levels of emotional development, like children go through, like adults then go through. And so with these 3 water signs representing the 3 different phases of emotional development and needs, all forming trine together in a harmonious, lucky aspect, we can feel like all levels of emotional needs are being met or fulfilled for breakthroughs and realizations. Given the planets and points that we have involved with this Grand Water Trine, there may be a lot coming up for you this week regarding healing shame, especially shame around being too much and stepping into growth. This is a great week for emotional development overall, to pay attention to what's going on emotionally and to work through your emotions. And given that Jupiter's here, it could feel like something's expanding, both in a positive, or it could feel like feelings are a lot. Overall this week, with this lunar eclipse and with this Grand Water Trine present, we have massive high tides of emotional waters rising, and we can feel this sense that emotions are confusing, emotions are irritating, emotions are too much for other people too, not only just ourselves, for the sake of cultivating a better relationship to our emotions. So I want to give you guys some practical guidance on how to navigate this energy, because I think you guys have a pretty good idea now of what is coming up astrologically this week of September 7th through the 13th. And again, this list that I'm about to share of things that I recommend doing and working on this week, or maybe prioritizing, is part of my email newsletter where you get weekly forecasts to the stars. So if you want to see this written and you don't like having to pause the video or screenshot this, you can get the weekly newsletter where I have all of this written down and written out for you straight to your email inbox. Some of my top recommendations this week for you to focus on: observe what thoughts and tasks don't bring you harmony and bliss. As we have Piscean energy present, we're being called to do what feels right and feels like alignment. Face your fear of being too much in whatever regard that means for you. That is because we have Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio asking us to share our vulnerabilities and go deep, which leads me to my next point of being vulnerable can be really powerful this week. How can you be vulnerable and share your depths in some area of your life? Pay attention to what's happening with your emotions. If you're going to do anything this week, notice your emotions. Be aware of your emotions. Practice saying I feel on a weekly, hourly, daily, minutely basis to get in touch with what you're feeling. Make time to just feel your feelings as well within that. I personally like even more practical tasks, so I would say make sure you're making time daily this week to journal what you're thinking about and how that's making you feel. And ask yourself how you can choose thoughts and feelings that bring you more harmony and emotional bliss. Define how you want emotional nurturance and security in your life. With Jupiter in Cancer this week, we can really find some benefit by thinking about an intention setting for this is what nurturance means to me. This is how I want to be nurtured. This is where I want to be nurtured. This is what nurturance means to be. And this is what emotional security and emotional safety feels like and looks like. Do the things that simply put make you feel harmonious, blissful, in alignment, and high vibrational. And I think that's all I have. I don't think I skipped over anything. Overall, the energy of this week invites you to make time for your feelings. And this is also tailored to you in the sense that what makes you feel good. Try to prioritize that a little bit more. Emotions are likely going to feel very heavy this week. And so even just learning about your moon sign can be really helpful. I know I think about that a lot already this week. And this is I'm already feeling this energy this weekend as of recording this video. And so looking into your moon sign could be helpful. It's something I do. I do have my moon sign self-care workbook that you can get. I will either put in the card up above or down in the description box below. You can always find it on my website through the links. My moon sign self-care workbook gives you a self-care guide, understanding of what your moon sign's all about, and so much more. It could really be helpful for you this week with how high our emotional waters feel. As far as the core spiritual lesson that is presented this week, for those who are adamant about doing spiritual work and not so much looking to check off a task list in their life, but wanting to understand the deeper meaning behind what they're maybe experiencing this week is a reminder to us that emotions are essential to our being and that we are driven by our emotions. For some people, the spiritual lesson could revolve more around emotional attachments and practicing more detachment, or this could be more about honoring your emotions for others. I will put a quote by Bruce Lee that I love, hence why I kind of chose this title for both my weekly newsletter and potentially for this video, and I mentioned it in this video, is be like water. If you may already know this quote of Bruce Lee about being like water, be formless, be shapeless, like water, how water fills whatever mold it is given. And I think this quote really resonated for me this week because our emotions are something that are so intertwined with our being. They arguably govern our entire life, them being the final element that we interact with in the zodiac wheel reminds us that at the end of the day, no matter how much passion, no matter how much security, no matter how much intellect we fulfill or curiosity, we need emotion. How did everything make us feel? And how can we choose to feel good? And the reason, again, to tie this in, this thought with the Bruce Lee quote, is that it's a reminder that our emotions are so fluid that they need to be flowed with, but the way in which they are being contained gives us our perception of them. And so how can you navigate and play with this thought, really, of being formless and shapeless like water in regards to how you navigate emotions and also how you frame your perspective on your emotions in the first place? I also personally see, which is not necessarily the point of this quote, but the idea of containment within emotions is our life is our container for our emotions. And understanding that and looking into that and diving into that could be really beneficial this week, especially because with having so much water energy present, the natural opposition to any water sign is an earth sign. And this brings up that idea of containment and fluidity go hand in hand. Rivers run between two sides of the earth. The water and earth go very hand in hand. And so how are we creating containment for our emotions? What kind of containment do we need? What kind of containment do we need to release? play with this concept of this metaphor of your container for your waters, your container for your emotions. Do you need more containment? And does containment mean putting a lid on it or giving it more space to flow? Or do you need less containment? Is your waters of your emotions asking for more fluidity, more flow? How can you observe your emotions this week? That is how I at least frame this spiritual lesson that can be really presented to us, is how do we feel our feelings and how does this frame our life experience? Because in the end, at the end of every day, doesn't matter what we do, it's how we feel. And choosing what we feel is a choice that we can make. So let me know down in the comments below, did this weekly forecast help you? Did you like this video format? This is my first weekly forecast I am filming. I'm hoping to continue this series for the rest of eternity as long as I'm running this YouTube channel. So I would love to hear what you thought and felt about this video down in the comments below. Share how it made you feel maybe as well. And if you prefer this in written form, please join my weekly newsletter where I'm going to be sharing weekly forecasts to the stars straight to your inbox so that you can get updated on the stars. There's none of those spam promotional emails. I know how annoying that can get. It's just a weekly forecast along with a monthly forecast. And of course, I share my offerings that may help you in those emails, but I try not to spam you guys too much with any random updates or things that don't serve you. I know everyone's inbox gets so overflowed. So if you want weekly forecasts, if you want your monthly forecast as well for your sign, be sure to join my weekly newsletter in the description box below, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down the stars and more. I thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Once again, my name's Isabel. From my heart to yours, namaste.